think we're live. I believe it's just me today. I don't know if ketura is going to be joining us or not, but we do have the World Championship circuit event for PC Movie. EU's event this morning. We will have an American event later this afternoon. Looks like ketura is going to be joining us. I'm going to pass over the hosting to him. He's got a much better setup than I do. We will kind of do that changeover when needed, but for the moment, I think it's just going to be me for a few minutes. This is the last day of our events. We have two events today, as we have every day for these circuit tournaments, America's timetable and an EU timetable. This is currently 1 p.m. in UTC, so hopefully it's a good time for most of our European friends. Looks like we have 9 people signed up at the moment. They've got 2 minutes left. This tournament will automatically start, so there will be no fumbling for the buttons. I really hope. Usually ketura sets these up, and I set this one up, so if it goes wrong, it's my fault. But we've got Chadwick, Pizdek, Rutil, Wingfoot, Vismayor, who's a name I don't think I recognize. Dolly, Edelin, Steven77, and the Faker. So some of our real regular competitors, as well as possibly somebody new, or maybe I just have the memory of a snail. Either way, I'm excited to see some of this play. It looks like we're going to have 4 rounds this morning if we don't get a whole flurry of additional players in the last moment here. Man, I can see that there is construction near me and my mic settings are spiking. I am so sorry that is probably coming across. Yet another reason for me to hand this off to ketura once he's here. It'll allow me to go on mute when I'm not speaking. All right, I do think we are streaming. I'm not positive I've got the Twitch settings correct. Not usually the one who does these, but again, hopefully it all comes through just fine. I'm going to unmute myself on Twitch momentarily just to confirm that noise is coming through. So I do hear myself speaking. I didn't notice the construction noises in the background. If anybody else is listening, can you let me know if you hear them? It'll make it a lot easier for me if you can't. I don't need to keep toggling my mic on and off. All right. Our competitors are locked in. There are 9 people playing today, the same that we looked at just a moment ago. Looks like we have tables up. The Faker versus Stefan77, Distali versus Wingfoot, Pizdek versus Chadwick, and Inalin versus Vismayor. Don't know that there's any particular one of these games versus the others to keep an eye on, because we don't know who's going to be heading into our final tables. I feel like we haven't seen Vismayor before, and I'm really curious as to what might be going on at this table today. So let's take a look here. Looks like Vismayor did win the bid and has chosen to go first. Prancing Pony, pretty typical setup here. Remember that we are in PC Movie today, but with PC we have these map cards, giving everyone the option of choosing their site path from the 3 primary blocks. Both players in this event, or this game, have chosen the Fellowship path. We've got Frodo the Reluctant Adventurer, Arwen, Echo of Luthien, Sam Resolute Halfling, Gladulady Redeemed, fetching Aragorn and then using him to tutor Legolas for a very large starting fellowship here. Really excited to see how this goes. Last Lines of Elves and Men coming down and tutoring Nenya. Which version was that? All right, that is our standard cycling Nenya. It's a large deck, so that may be a key part here, though Resolute Halfling also does an amazing job cycling cards reliably. Moving on to the Midgewater Marshes. Golem Darkest Darkness coming down doesn't necessarily tell us much about the shadow here. What is Enelin running? Twilight Nazgul. Getting an extra exertion on Frodo during the shadow phase will let Twilight and Kea, Twilight Witch King, really start hitting burdens faster than they otherwise would. Worth noting for this match that Frodo is wearing the Binding Ring. This requires a maneuver action to put on. Both can be prevented by various effects that stop the maneuver phase entirely, but far more importantly here means that he has to have the foresight for how many wounds he might be taking during any given skirmish phase set in order to get it through. But Aragorn getting large enough to be able to defeat Unkea, Frodo doesn't have to worry about that this turn. Enelin is reconciling, and Vismer has to decide if he's going to move on, almost certainly to the Fords of Brune if he does. But he is going to stop there, and we'll take a look at Enelin's Fellowship. Sorry about the moment of dead air. My coffee maker beeped telling me that my coffee was ready. Had to grab that to stay present for the rest of this. We're seeing Aragorn tutored here as well, along with Endurial Blade of the West, and Durin the Third coming in bearing an axe and bracers. We've got a potentially real proper tank dwarf deck here, which is interesting. We don't see much of that in these kinds of events because Grima is such a threat. But maybe there's something here that we're not expecting from Enelin, and maybe he's just willing to accept that he can survive the turns, that Grima does his thing, and he'll win all of the fights on the rest. He's moved along to the Midwater Marches, causing an exertion on Frodo. 19 Twilight in the pool. Vismer taking a moment here to decide what they're going to do. Oh, and I'm being informed that I am in fact in the wrong Discord channel. So anybody who's been trying to listen on Discord, my apologies. Let me switch over there. People on Twitch hopefully can still hear me. Hold on. Maybe not. I show Ketura is in the audience. How do I add them to the call? Nope, now we're both in the audience. I don't know if I'm being heard on Discord at all. Looks like Ketura is doing some work there, though. I don't want to spend too much time ignoring the game. We've got Goblin Patrol Troop, along with a whole slew of Moria conditions hitting the table here. Troop exerting twice to draw some extra cards. And a Goblin Scimitar in hand does make him larger than Durin is, at least until any events are played. Hello, Ketura. Maybe. Early Secret Sentinels is going to discard one of those conditions, exerting Arwen there. Secret Sentinels has been adjusted for the PC, so it's not going to hit the second one without the second Elven ally, even though it spots the Orc. Going up against Estelle and winning that skirmish, but largely unscathed. Move to Site 3 for Enelin. Ketura, can you hear me? Nope, I can't hear you. Sorry, folks, for us trying to figure out how we can get this voice chat up. But again, I do think we're audible over Twitch, so that should still be going. We're just gonna change which channel we're in Discord. Give me just a moment while this mayor drops yet more companions on the table, and I'll be right back here. All right. Interestingly, I still... Oh, heard something. I still can't hear you, Ketura. I wonder if it is a problem with my settings. It is. It's trying to input to the wrong headset. Hello. No. Still backwards. Hello? Hey, there we go. I sure can. You are very loud. Let me turn it down. Yeah. No, I couldn't find my normal headset this morning, and I left. There's one that I left at work this week, and one that I can't find. So I'm on earbuds, and they're just different volume than everything else. So I have attempted to start all of this without you. I wasn't sure if you were around this morning, but I am very happy if you would like to switch and take over the stream, because I don't know that I have it set up correctly. We are streaming. We're on Twitch right now. I just don't know if it's configured correctly. Sure. I am fully happy with you continuing to take the lead on all things commentary, but I'll swap us over to sharing my screen here. It's the same one that I'm sharing on Twitch. I don't have the same setup you do where I can easily share all of the other cards. I'm not even sure which URL you use for that. But hopefully we can at least get something here. Yeah, no worries at all. I've been watching here the Vizmayer and Enelin match because I don't recognize Vizmayer, and I'm trying to think if we've seen them before in some of these events or if they are new. And new players are always exciting to watch. We've got Elves and Aragorn versus Dwarves and Aragorn, both running Estelle. And then Moria and Twilight Nazgul for our Shadows. Return to its master just dropped with Twilight Taya on the field. Could be the end of Frodo, but Resolute Halfling was a starting companion, so it won't be the end of the game. Yeah, I'm curious if that's expected pass off of the ring for Vizmayer. Starting Sam does suggest that might have been the case, or if he was using Sam to cycle cards and expecting Frodo to stay in the game past the Fords of Brune. It is especially strong against the Twilight Nazgul as well, who rely on getting those wounds or exertions down on the Ringbearer so that they can convert additional ones to burns. This could be a hard fight for Enelin. Yeah, I absolutely agree. He started with a deck of over 100 cards and is cycling quite well between Sam and Nenya here. He did stop at site 2, so he could potentially double, but I don't think he's going to, and no, he stopped. I haven't seen dwarves played in a movie event in I feel like a very long time. So I'm excited to see what the play here is, because Grima's still out there, but maybe has fallen out of meta enough to not be a big concern. You know, Enelin is a reliably good player. Vengeful Longbeard does make for an excellent skirmisher if you're trying to stay a little bit on the leaner side. And while Vismayer started with a rather large deck and is cycling between his goblins here and his fellowship, Enelin's deck was pretty tight. So he's not, he's not going to be self-milling, I don't believe. Not really sure what flavor is going to happen here, but it's thus far been able to survive quite well against the Moria. No, they're not. I was really hoping that couldn't be heard. I listened to the Twitch stream for a minute. I didn't hear it through there. But I'll go on mute for a hot minute here, because they are going hard. And I'll try to unmute myself just to speak. I think that's even more true in a post B2 meta, where Gandalf's staff is far less likely the one that itself is able to cancel items at Site 2 or Site 4. Lath spell has been making enough splash that the staff he bears is not a cancellation item. He does have the Pale Crown on the table, which would turn off the Last Alliance, whether or not he's not going to use it. It might be something he's holding for a Witch King. And Kea gives a single wound to Sam, which he can heal up with a few discards, but Witch King does do 2 at a time. Maybe he's holding off for a bigger payoff. Yeah, he started the game at 6 companions. 4 in the starting fellowship, Prancing Pony for Aragorn, and Tutored Greenleaf. I don't think he's worried about regular Unkea at all, which might be a safe bet in this particular matchup. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Twilight Nazgul here too in movie, but we haven't seen a Fell Beast yet. Oh, no, that's a lie. I must have just missed it while we were chatting, getting the rest of the setup going. There has been 1 Fell Beast, but just the single one, very few minions, no Witch King yet. And he's through close to half his deck already. So hopefully he'll be having a stronger second half here. That Ring Wraith was made fierce during the maneuver phase, potentially throwing it out there purely to get some more wounds down. He's not in the worst shape here at side 5, but the more he can put down, the better he'll be to force a stop at 6. Sam has initiative at the beginning of the turn, regardless of, he can. Yeah, that Sam's going to be, I think, a real struggle here. He needs to be able to put down 4 exertions or wounds every turn before he gets a burden out of it. He's not going to be able to build them up unless Vismayer chooses to not remove all of them. Hand is too good or needs to play additional cards. Moving into Site 5 against Moria, I do wonder if we're going to see a Belrog here, but we've got a few additional options, and I don't think if we do see one that it's guaranteed as to which version we're going to find on the table. This 13 Twilight is not a lot, especially if he's going to be dropping a 12 or 14 Spellrog, reduced to 6 or 8, of course, with the sight. They are coming to grab the scout who is effectively free because Arwen's on the table. And then yeah, they've got the V2 Arwen ally, making Aragorn a little bit stronger, and occasionally Defender +1. At the moment, he is. And then she is able to take wounds for him, which is very cool. Oh, and we do have the new V2 Balrog hitting the table. Fierce and damage +1. Each time this minion takes a wound, you can remove 1 to add a threat. Makes him a little bit more dangerous if you're running archery or if you happen to win a skirmish. And then each time the Free People's player uses a skirmish special ability in a skirmish with him, you can wound the companion he's skirmishing. So Gimli planned on dropping 3 or 4 skirmish events to be able to take him out. He'll still find himself falling to the Lieutenant of Morgoth. That makes sense. I haven't played against it very much. I admit that it was abilities only, not defense as well. Yeah, he did eat Theron, which of course is what Theron is there for. And then Aragorn manages to take the single wound thanks to armor. Plays his own Site 6, which is worthwhile against Moria. It's going to stop the first minion from being -2 cost. But this Belrog is not a Fellowship Belrog and does not discard if he decides to move. So I think rather cleverly staying behind. Of course, the Battle of Endurials is going to let Vismayer replace it with his own Site 6, just long enough for Adeline to swap it back. I'm not actually sure replacing that was to his benefit at all. It's unlikely that there will be enough of a swarm for it to matter, but Endurial can be used however many times, and so it will just get swapped back during the... Exactly. We have our first Witch King, and the Morgul Brute coming in to try and add a burden. Probably be a wound instead. No fierceness here. Nothing on the table for him to use to make the Witch King. Oh, I spoke too soon. Pale Crown and not a Fell Beast. Except that he has two of them. I need to be more patient. So this is a big Witch King. Cyrodiil could cause a real problem for it. Not sure how much is in the discard pile here. Quite a few events. This may well be where he's using. But Cyrodiil here is quite a bit different, or quite a bit weaker than the traditional Decipher version. He still gets to exert to make a minion strength -1 for each event in the discard pile, but if that minion is overwhelmed, half of those events are then removed from the game. So we can't do it 3 times between units. Curadan, I apologize. Well, much to my dismay, I was not born an elf and have not learned the language. But there is our use of Curadan, and it is going to be an overwhelm. We'll remove half of those from the pile. Next. 14. So 7 will go out of the game. 7 will not be enough the next time around to allow Curadan to win that skirmish. It is. I think the change was really good. It's not the one that I had personally voted for, but I think it's worked out quite well. It allows him to do his thing, be really threatening and terrifying, but not constantly. Or alternatively, if you're using other events, he can use it all the time for small gains, in addition to, a weapon or two, and maybe a skirmish event, oh my. Yeah, it looks like he's got no Pale Crowns in his discard pile. I think that's another one of these key items that we're going to see, especially against Aragorn, as well equipped as he is. With Fell Voice's Call, it's not clear how many he might be running, but I would posit it's probably more than the one. I didn't in time until you said it, but yeah, Cave Troll hitting the table, cleaning up the orcs without much problem using the dwarves, but the Cave Troll, he would be damage +2, but Aragorn has armor. Yeah, that is a troll who should be inflicting 6 wounds and just can't seem to put much pressure. Did potentially force a stop there at Site 6. These two have been going kind of pretty evenly here, and pulling ahead of Site would have gone a long way. If Cave Troll hadn't put those 2 wounds down, he may have been able to, or been willing to double there, especially with Sam now on the table. Moving to the Valley of Unadain, Anduin, I can read. So at the start of each skirmish phase, anyone not wounded will take a wound. I think this is a really cool one, but I don't often see it with the Twilight Nazgul. They don't have a way of wounding themselves, and they often value that vitality. we're sure going to guarantee they're wounded there. At least the Angry Flood. Yeah, not one you see very often, but not the first time we've seen it in a World Championship event since Estelle has come out. Exerting an elf to wound each Nazgul once or twice at a river is very powerful at the later Fellowship sites. It's not played all that often historically, I think, because Nazgul are such a small portion of the total Twilight population, but with cards like Estelle allowing you to so easily cycle those events, it became a lot easier to slot a copy or two in. I'm actually surprised that he's putting Aragorn up here. I would have thought that potentially leaving Ankea alive on the table would have allowed for an easier double move. He's already exhausted. Well, he was before the Pale Crown. Right. Moving with that already out is going to go a long way towards not being worried about one of the two real dangerous minions here. He doesn't have a lot of fighters, though. Witch King drop could cause some real havoc. Though, maybe not with Legolas on the table. It is the PC errata Legolas here. So he would have to do a second exertion, unless somehow Enelin here managed to swarm, as he's not bearing its bow. Darkest Darkness is going to be really big there. Releasing the Angry Flood. Legolas has got to shoot the Witch King down. Yep, ditching Counts of Elrond. Great card early game, maybe not so helpful as you get further on. It's always an interesting state in these games, I think, where you get the double move from 6 to 8. So unless your opponent has some way of getting move limit +1, it does put them solidly in the camp of not needing to worry about their Fellowship anymore. As long as they survive the move to 7, they can cycle as much as they can and try to build up that Shadow Hand, because might be unfortunate in this case. He absolutely could have walked to Site 9 with that if he had the move limit. I think that's almost guaranteed, but he won't. So, ditching any remaining Fellowship cards he can. May behoove him to leave Vismayer as clogged as he can as well, though with Moria there's a good chance he's going to play on anything in his hand anyway. Yeah. Host of Moria used to grab a foul things. That seems odd. What am I missing there? Right, but so does Host of Moria. He may have simply known that he couldn't use the Twilight. Not at all clear what else is going on there. Just flexing that he didn't need to use it all. I absolutely agree. I would have stopped as well. Unless I'm looking at what's on the table. There's no. Does he have a last throw in hand? Something to just come out of nowhere and make that jump to 9? Yeah, he does have 2 Gondor men on the table. A last throw is in the cards right now, but this deck does not seem like it's geared around them, so I wouldn't have expected it to, find itself a card slot. Yeah, absolutely. Even Last Alliance. Shukan and Quaig for Boromir would stop that potential play. Don't know if that's what Vizmayer is thinking as well, but uh, I'm not sure. A lot of wounds just hit the table. Archery fire. Oh, Anduin Banks. So there's a ton of archery, but he, yeah. Instead of finishing off Boromir, my guess, I don't think so. I think he was leaving the maximum number of archery on the table, and probably simply not concerned about a last throw coming out. He's looking for maximum damage. Yeah, this is where you're set up, where you've got the cards off to the side. I actually was trying to get something similar, but I'm not actually sure what page you use for it, because I always use. But you're not using the card search part of the wiki, which is what I am accustomed to. Oh, all right. Show off last throw. Let's spell correctly. So, it's a nice thought. Which, of course, does mean that I'm confused by the move to Site 8 entirely, because that's going to allow Bismayer to have, at this point in his deck, gotten probably the best possible hand here. Witch King and a Brute alone is not going to do this. He needs at least a Fell Beast to hit the table here. Second Brute is going to be helpful, though, if he also has a Fell Beast to drop. 8 cards left in his deck. It does seem likely. I believe he's still only got the 1 in his discard pile. Yeah. It's not a river, which makes sense, because this is not Bismayer's Site 9. So it's only the 1 wound. Nope, I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, enough events have hit. He's just showing off at this point. That is going to be the. Oh yeah, that is just to avoid needing to worry about it. All right. For Vismayer. Uh, we have no more games remaining. That was the last running one, it looks like. So we should have just a moment here before the next one goes off. There is some chatter in GIMP, though, that I have not been paying attention to. What is going on there? I think that's understandable. This is all volunteer our event. If anybody is interested in helping out, please always let us know. So yeah, so we're starting the next round here. We just watched Vizimir and Enelin. Is there any particular table you're interested in catching next? Baker and Rutil. We have a really interesting start here from Rutil. I'm excited to see how this goes. Isildur as the ring bearer with the Ranger of Osgiliath. Lets you discard a couple of cards to exhaust a minion in the regroup phase. Gimli Feared Axeman, which protects your conditions. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of a Slate Thirst play here. And then Smeagol Poor Creature for hand cycling, if nothing else. Oh my goodness, that is very large. The Faker's starting Resolute Halfling. Yeah, something that's going to self-mill at least some of that. No Shadow played at King's Tent. Only had 4 Twilight to work with. Faker moving straight to the base of Mindolin. And nothing played there either. I really like the Bag End study if you don't need Aragorn. I think it's a really strong contender. Doesn't get seen very often because the Prancing Pony exists, not because it's not a well-designed card. Seeing some additional dwarves along with, yeah, here's a self-mill condition. A little bit of a boost. As well as he didn't put tokens on it. Stack 2 cards from hand here to make door strength +2. Damage +2 for each card stacked in this condition. So just dropping it for, maybe he's got some other way of stacking later in the game. Or potentially just as a +2 strength boost. Oh. Looks like another round of Twilight Nazgul. So Pale Crown does have an interesting in-movie potential to be used with Enduring Nazgul. It doesn't get most of its effect, but +1 Vitality is not something to sneeze at. And with things like the Enduring Witch King, you can potentially exert him several times for some of his 2 exerts effects, like with his ring. I don't expect that's what we're seeing here. I don't think it's a particularly competitive play, but it is the other option I can imagine for a Pale Crown. Really not given much to work with here, Twilight-wise. Build the pony on the table, only 3 companions. The Faker is just moving along. He's already at Site 5. Didn't use Site 3, probably because he's not hit Site 3. Doesn't have any fortifications. But only 8 Twilight for Rutil to work with here. Evil Smelling Fens will allow Golem to tutor anybody he wants later in the game. Final Strike helps prevent archery special events. I'm not sure what this deck is now. We're seeing an Isengard Shaman, some extra Golem conditions. All fair. We got Eisenorks. Quite a swarm of Eisenorks. He must have been holding on to that for the game, getting ready for this move to Site 4. Sealder is going to be forced to participate, it looks like. And using the Site 4 to exert a minion and removing a burden to make the Freebills player discard one of his conditions. There are many available. Getting rid of 6th level. Yep. Citadel of the Stars get dropped out there to give Isildur or the Ranger of Osgiliath a nice boost, potentially even killing off a opponent. And then his dwarven conditions both potentially allow for a buff against dwarves. Curious to know where the Isengard Journeyman goes here. There's no fight currently being lost by the Shadow. A couple places where it might help lead to an overwhelm, or at least force the use of certain conditions. Yeah. No, it's not. You need an 18 to overwhelm Gimli. Maybe it's just ensuring that his commander survives unwounded, be able to hand out those regroup wounds. He does have quite a bit of regroup wound potential here. Probably wishes he had more exert guys and fewer tinkers, but potential here is for what, 9 wounds to be dished out. Won't be game ending, but that will certainly hurt. Yeah, Golem boosted enough to survive, but not enough to win his skirmish. Not Golem, Smeagol. Yeah, in a deck that size, you got to think you need a guaranteed way of just throwing away cards that aren't the right for the current setup. Looks like we're going to be exhausting a Sealder. No ability to pass the ring off without Frodo on the table. Oh, for the Citadel of the Stars. Yeah, his skirmish ability is... Oh, yeah, exert 3 companions. It doesn't have to be him. But with this many wounds hitting the table, there are not going to be 3 companions ready to go. 2 burdens is the only option. Yeah, really unclear with this setup if he's likely to have any burden removal. Some of these alternate ring bearers, it feels dangerous to not, but dwarves and men are not well known for their ability to restore those burdens. yeah, wounding each companion if you go. That makes a lot of sense with eyes and orcs. You want to force the stop, but if they do decide to go, you want the advantage going on. Oh, that's right. Jill still may or may not be using Twilight Nazgul. I don't think we've seen enough of a shadow here to be clear what the play would be. There's plenty of other options where I think that is a worthwhile Site 6, and that is, I think it might be as well. The site did add 3 threats, so a single kill here is another 3 wounds, and he already had 2. Yeah. And the answer to all riddles cannot absorb wounds during the regroup phase. The Isengard Warrior is going to trigger here as well. If he can't exhaust at the very least to that warrior, the warrior is going to ensure that he's fully exerted out before he starts discarding for those extra wounds. Yeah, he'll take 2 off Durin and the last 1 off the Ranger, assuming they don't take any wounds during the skirmish. And this is enough of a swarm that might not be guaranteed. He's got 6 cards in hand. He could potentially win against one of the smaller guys here. If he's willing to dump his entire hand for it. But yeah, yeah, so the plotter on Gimli. You could potentially win every skirmish here, but only Gimli and Durin are damage +1. Which means that so he's kicking off Realm of Daradwarp. He's not underground, so he's going for an overwhelm there. Get rid of this shaman to be able to prevent it from saving those. Durin damage +2. Exerting all wounds to that dwarf. Oh, he's absorbing all of the threats. So it's a smart play. I'm still not sure that he's going to make it out of this. Even if Sindri wins this fight, I guess if he goes for an overwhelm, it's only 3 wounds. Which he can survive. Yeah, he is going for the overwhelm. Discarding additional cards to exhaust the plotter. I don't think that's going to do anything here other than help cycle his hand, but he may have needed it. But his dwarves are still there. I do continue to wonder if the ranger is disposable. Hasn't seen it do anything other than be a card cycler, and it is a good one. But if he loses it, does he lose something else? I haven't seen anything that requires a ranger yet. Dropping. Yeah, I think that is fair. Dropping 2 additional of the promise, or a promise. Bringing Frodo and Sam into respectable skirmish territory. We don't have... I think there was an Isengard Shaman early on. Oh, there's an actual minion. May or may not be enough to be meaningful here. Oh, Elbereth could certainly let Frodo strike him down. Is true. Using the Pale Crown's going to give him a win here without an additional boost, but there's another Hobbit intuition hitting the table. Frodo is not concerned about these Nazgul. He doesn't need to. His opponent's 2 sites behind and can't double through that site 6. Yeah, even if he manages to do nothing here effective in the site 6 play, Rutiel can't keep walking. So the Faker is a good position to kind of stroll gently towards site 9. Some Fanfest coming out. In a deck this size, it wouldn't surprise me if he's running more than one option for Flood Insurance. They are spot a minion and remove 3 to draw 2 cards, so they're not a bad draw when what you're trying to do is get that perfect setup. There are 6 companions on the field, so Ankea hitting Sam twice and then killing Durin, probably. Yeah, not enough burdens for him to just start shooting down each companion as they go, but more than enough companions to see Durin lost here. He was activating the Ring of Guile to battle tested, so +4. No threats anymore. Gimli. Not a massive surprise once Durin was itemless. I haven't seen any attack on those conditions, but he is running Isengard, so it's not unreasonable to think that he's got Saruman's power. Gimli could have potentially protected the 1 or 2 most important. Preparations has found its way onto the table, so that plus Slaked Thirst will go a very long way towards getting rid of some of his Exert to Wound. That's a great question. I don't see one. Yeah, there are more minions than companions here, so this is going to be a problem kind of no matter what. Several of those are going to be able to cause additional damage in the regroup phase. This might be game regardless of whether or not Slaked Thirst was ready to go. Yeah, I would be putting him with the Worker. If this was my table, of course not knowing what's in the Faker's hand. I think that's where you protect your maximum number of wounds. Though perhaps protecting either the Plotter or the Journeyman is important, but the Realm of Werewolf potentially allowing for massive overwhelms. Well, it's only for +3. So maybe he's fine. Sindri, even if he wins his skirmish, won't be able to overwhelm the plotter. Yeah, the warrior itself isn't going to get any wounds, but the worker is worth 2. Plotter or journeyman, as long as one of them's on the field, you get an extra wound per work still there. If they both get overwhelmed, you lose out on more wounds than the 2 from the worker. So Sindri can overwhelm. Durin can overwhelm just with Realm of Borrowed Wealth. So yeah, my first instinct there may not be the best play. I'm trying to remember what some of these others are. Is there any additional boosting? I don't think so. One burden away from corruption here. Yeah, I don't know if he has to. If oh, gonna give him a win, but unless he can get to damage +2, that journeyman's gonna survive, and that's all that matters here from the Faker's side of things. I'm not sure what just sacked that. Oh, he discarded from the top. Yeah. If that had been an event, that could have been a different story. Yeah, okay, is still fierce. Is there another? Yeah, potentially grabbing. Oh, if you can just get an event out of all of this, he'll be at least surviving here. I mean, there's all those slaked thirsts. But yeah. No, another condition. And a Ring of Fury. After my heart rises, no events. Battle tested. There he goes. Yeah. All right, allowing Durin to swing down on Ikea. There's still 5 wounds here in the regroup phase. I don't think ultimately it matters, but I feel like there's a bit of a moral victory right there. Oh, Ring of Fury being discarded gives 2 heals, but with 5. It's going to be 4 wounds. He can take 3 before he loses a companion. Ditching those 2 cards for the Ranger Resgiliath to finish exhausting the worker, I think was important there. He's losing 2, not all. You think you keep Sindri or Durin here? It's clearly a decision that Rutil's not sure about. Yep. But there he goes. All right, we've got the potential to play a cheap Nazgul here. There are 2 threats on the Faker side of the board. He's got his last promise in play, but only 10 Twilight is really rough. That cheap Nazgul could be anything he wants, but he's probably not getting a second out. He is down to only 23 cards left in deck, so you've got to think that he's starting to hit that point where he has the cards he's aiming to play. Unless he just ditched all of them. Yeah. It's been a lot. Yeah, we got Old Villain for even more card cycling, if nothing else. He does get quite strong against those hobbits. He probably won't be able to take Gimli on, but depending on what else hits the table here, that golem most likely needs to go against Gimli. Yeah, starting at over 100 cards. He's got 72 in his discard pile, plus a whole smattering of them on the table. Unkea coming out instead of the Witch King. Curious if... Yeah, only 4 Twilight to go, but that could allow you to fit... I'm trying to think what else... So much of this has been discarded that I haven't really seen it come through. No. Yeah. Grabbing a Skulker if he needs to get 2 final Nazgul cards, but I've been covering the screen and he has made a choice. What did he get? No, he didn't use it at all. He played... Right. Yeah. No, he prevented there and back again. Which is probably a good call here. Preventing something else. He's preventing the ring from going on. Resistance becomes unbearable. Do you think there's a... Oh my, there could be a return to its master play? No, he wouldn't be preventing the ring. Why is he trying to put on the ring? Yeah, he's exhausted and Ankea's right there. No. Well, Ankea can't exert anymore, so him winning is not the same level of concern. A return to your master play here would be hilarious. Well, and that he was trying to stop the ring from going on. Yeah, that's the trigger for return to its master. Return to its master. Yeah, if the ring bearer wears the 1 ring at the end of a skirmish phase. Yeah, he was trying to prevent it, and I'm not actually sure if at the end of the day he did prevent it. Is there a way to see if the ring is being worn through the GEMP interface? It's not usually something that you have to wonder about there. This... Yeah, that seems likely. Use the file of Gladriel to remove the game text of Ankea. Nope, all veils removed. The ring bearer must be wearing the 1 ring because he did just get +5. Discarding Elbrith to get the +4 against a Nazgul. No crown on the field to remove Sting from this equation. The ring must be being worn. Cliffs of Mule to wound. That was quite a back and forth. Rid of eventually taking out Twilight and Kaya. Yeah, it does seem like an interesting choice there. Rutil healing up, dropping a scroll of Isildur to get +1 resistance. Not enough to use an assignment there again. Yeah, if he doesn't remove a burden or get another companion, Rutil only needs to, or the figure only needs to drop 2 minions here to end the game. Isildur will corrupt when he is assigned. Which is fitting, I suppose, if 2 sites earlier than expected. Yeah, he's got lots of slaked thirsts. If he's got any other way of inflicting a wound during the maneuver phase, he could potentially clear some field here. But I don't see any hand axes or anything else that might cause that kind of effect. I do believe. Yeah, putting it all on Isildur, and yeah, corruption at the beginning of the assignment phase. Well, all right. Yeah, fun game to watch. We do have 2 still in progress. Pizdek and Nastali at Site 7, and Stefan 77 and Chadwick at Site 6. Yep. Those removals. We've got our Royal Guard exerting to add his strength to a Hobbit, also making for a Valiant for the end of the turn, and using Sting Bane of the Eight-Legged to discard the Fierce Minion. Yeah, there's a lot of V2 cards here. Yeah, lets them get Valiant too, which plays off of quite a few of the new V2 items, which is fun. So I think everybody is Valiant here. Aragorn and Eowyn by default, and then Lath's spell makes Mounted Companions Valiant. So Éomer has Firefoot, Gandalf has Shadowfax, and the Rohirrim army is on a horse of Rohan. No mounts that Frodo can ride, but the Royal Guard can correct that problem. So moving again, getting a heal from Gwai here. Six burdens out. He's going to be able to remove 2 for +4 strength if there's Twilight left on the field. The army there is going to be able to do an exert to make an easy on strength police +3 strength twice. There's quite a plus at the moment maybe 16 from the Sterling captain. It's a very good chance somebody's getting overwhelmed. Yeah, this is not a great spot for Distali. He's got lots of companions. I don't think he's ending the game here, but there's a lot of potential to overwhelm with these fights. If he can't figure out a way of at least removing that regiment so that there's not a continuous influx of that Twilight, it's clearly taking a moment to think about things. Lath spell's not going to be useful here. These special abilities are all skirmish events. He is running standard shadow effects, nothing, no fancy tricks there. The captain is fairly invulnerable until the skirmish phase with the pole arm. I'm not sure what he's thinking through. He must have something in hand that makes for some interesting play here. Curious to see how some of this goes. Yeah. Yeah. He's not overwhelmed just yet. It seems little chance that he's not going to be overwhelmed, but I'm curious how much he might have. He's using Aragorn to make him strength +2. You know, 6 more will be put down once this fight ends. And Distali throwing in the towel there. Yep, recognizing that this wasn't going to play out in oil for him. Yep. Seems. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Distali is saying in chat that he would have survived, but it would have been really interesting to see what happened in the ending. Oh, that is indeed. Yeah, nice big flashing lights when you hit certain times. Closing it out in the hopes that closed their Fears and Despair. Spot 2 men to discard a companion. Yeah, Eve. So anyone who's able to play at this level on a phone thoroughly impresses me. I never even tried. I've watched games on my phone and struggled to tell what was going on, and I didn't have to click any buttons. Yep. I think that is going to be our next one. We are going to be 4 rounds, right? 3 rounds. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll be into 4 rounds. Yep. I think that is likely. Let's make a point of watching that game. Distali and Faker are in preparation. Jumping into it. Different site paths here. Towers from Distali and Fellowship from Faker. And I'm sorry, that construction is going wild. I'm going to mute for just a moment. Moving without being contested as well. Let's put all of that setup down without needing to pay for it, at least not just yet. It is a large fellowship. He is in Ankea territory rather badly. That's true. Yeah, Lath Spell does make Ankea very difficult. There are not. There are 3 Valiant companions out. Aemir is Valiant because he's mounted. He does need quite a few more minions to start doubling up here, but Frodo can only get up to a 5, so it only takes 2 of these little guys to overwhelm. He's got quite the play out. 7 minions, 7 companions. That's not enough, but it may well be enough to have a good number of these surviving to the regroup. Right. Yeah, they're 1 for 1, so that's more of a placement effect, like you said. His staff would make that a little bit different if I'm remembering correctly. Let's see if I can't pull that up on the side here. We don't have the V cards in this lookup, do we? Oh no, there it is. Yeah, each time he's exerted by a free people's card, you can wound a minion. Limit 1. Limit once per phase. Was that always there? I feel like there was a robustus there that was problematic before. Yeah, there is still quite a bit of complaining about Lath Spell. And Stali is clearly using it to some good effect here, being one of the top players at the moment. Aragorn is dispatching his work without much issue. He did exert for that bonus to get the overwhelm, because he's not damage +1 yet. For his own 3 spot. Why did Aragorn exert at the end there? Oh, by accident. Stali says, oops. Yeah. Well, it discards a minion when he does. So it some additional vitality, but it also gets rid of one of those. A few wounds scattered about, but this is a far larger vitality pool amongst the opponents here than we saw in the last round. Tossing some of those on Sam. I don't know how important Sam is overall here. The fact that he was given Sting so early makes me think that Dostali's planning to murk Frodo. But those extra wounds also do put him in danger of getting hit by Ankea. And we know the Faker is running at least 1 copy. We saw it in the last round. Right. Even then, not easily destroyed prevents a wound. Oh, not feared in sunlight? No, you were right. It is not easily destroyed. I'm thinking of the event that prevents a wound. All blades perish, maybe? Yep. So Distali dropping Ship's a Great Draw with many tokens on it to be able to plan for preventing doubles. And then Small Hope. Let him stay at a steady 2 burdens, if nothing else. Easterling Army's likely to win his skirmishes here, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get big enough to really threaten Gimli. He's not damage +1. Oh, Gimli tossing the hand axe to not deal with it in the least. Not a bad call there. Yeah, 3 companions is always going to be a bit rough. We do know he's running Build the Pony for Sam. Hasn't drawn it yet because he's using Resolute Halfling and not Faithful Companion, but does continue to potentially reduce them more and more. I wonder if he's running, what is it called? Deft in their movements to double cheaply as well. I don't think we saw any in the previous game, but it seems like the style of stealth deck that might actually put that in. I'm missing something to that. Make each site's shadow number -2 until the end of turn. What am I missing here that makes it only work when behind? Interesting. Well, that is something I did not know. I don't think I've ever seen Deft in their movements successfully played. But that is now. Yeah, potentially in a fellowship deck with a ranger and pathfinder, you can toss them out there. But yeah, for only -2 Twilight and only on your second part of a double move, doesn't seem. It's not a great card, I guess. Something we all already knew, but oh, so there is Nkea. You've already noted Gandalf. Yeah. It's pretty shadow. Heal by companion. For each shadow card discarded, he exerts a minion. Yep. Stop the need to use last spell at all from that perspective. Hitting the servant seems wise to me. That warrior could be a problem if he manages to get a wound on Frodo, but if he doesn't, he's not terribly useful. And that is then the end of his maneuver phase, or at least he's not allowed to play any additional actions. Does anything bypass that? Cleaning up the orcs is as thematic as you can get with one of these games. Yeah, they got rid of both the plotter and the tinker, the other discard to wound, leaving with no actual regroup wounding this round. It's going to leave a few on the table if he decides to move again, but yeah, the potential utility here is wild. The last spell. Yeah, Distelli not thinking twice about that move to Site 6. Sorman's Power gets rid of the Red Dawn. Not going to play this turn anyway with no cards left in hand. And not enough minions to cause any real swarm threat here. I'm curious about the choice of Lothlorien Woods for the Site 6 here. I don't think we've seen any Site 6 allies being run by the Faker. Would have anticipated to be the one that doesn't let you put more than one person in a skirmish. I mean, it screws over an overwhelm from Swarm, but it guarantees survival of a whole bunch of minions if they'd be able to multi-stack them. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. May well have just been reduction, like you said. Pause here in the skirmish with Eckenbrand. Now, I suspect Distali is going to exert Aragorn for the overwhelm, but doesn't. Yeah, we'll see a wound there, and then Nkea is probably going to get destroyed by Aemir. But 3 additional wounds for the table. Can't heal it all up at Site 6, but I think he's still in pretty good form here. You know, he's running a wide fellowship and a lot of big vitality on the table. He has progress towards his win condition, but it's a little on the late side for so few with so many companions. Frodo removing some burdens with Brace of Conies, tossing down Theron. Walking to the bridge. So few Twilight out there. Yeah, his choice of flood protection. Play a couple of minions costing at least 5, which he certainly has in droves. No. He's doing a good job here of keeping things low. Though if he does lose both these skirmishes, we're going to get 4 additional Twilight out there, making it double dangerous. Curious that he's playing Shadow. Yeah, Distali's got so many tokens here on the Ship of Great Drought that if he can kind of guess correctly as to when a double might happen really cause some problems. But he does need to telegraph that and could hurt his own fellowship phase if he gets it wrong. Shadowfax and Brago coming out. Now, moving to an opponent's site. He is in the lead right now, so that'll be out there. Oh, do not trust a hope. Yeah, this is one of the fun ones that I really liked from V2. It makes them valiant, which is important for the deck concept we're seeing. And it's a +2 strength condition, so it can go in addition to spear or sword, but it does wound them during the regroup phase if they choose not to discard it. I think this is a really funnily designed item. I'm not sure if Eckenbrand's who I would have thought to put it on, given that he's already exhausted, but Distali runs this deck, not me. I certainly don't know the intricacies here. Yeah, it could well have been that he was perfectly prepared to toss it no matter who it was on, and Eckenbrand was, getting a 9 was more important than getting an 11 or 13 on some of the others. Yeah, Darkest Darkness is going to cause that condition, but needs to get it all together in the same go to get the third wound, and then a healthy warrior. I believe we saw it last game, but it's possible that that was his opponent's. Yeah, you're right. It's not in the discard pile. I would have expected Darkest Darkness to be a 3 or 4 inclusion in this deck, but I think the Eisenorks in movie have so many options that it can be hard to choose what goes in if you're not going terribly large. So maybe it just didn't make the cut. Just cycling through, removing threats, and discarding cards to get his tokens there. Just using it to get his hand cycled around. Yeah, the figure has caught up that if Distali doesn't double, he does need to be ready for a full stop. But with that many tokens on Ship of Great Drought, I think there's a very good chance that he can give himself whatever hand he chooses at Site 9 that he thinks will result in a clear win. There was an additional heal there, I thought. Stocking up a couple of extra characters here. He's got Javelin, and there you go. I haven't seen anything. Oh, the figure's up to 13. Yeah, 21 Twilight for 13 cards is a very reasonable 13 minion play with the deck that we've seen. Whether or not he has 13 minions in hand is obviously a larger question. Let's exert the Forger to get one back. He's got all 9 on the table. Put it on the commander, then Eowyn wins the skirmish against the commander and his damage +2 with his spear. But right now, Eowyn doesn't win that skirmish without help. That's true. Yeah. Which means that they can't be discarded during the regroup. Unless Eowyn's got a damage +1 from somewhere, that worker will have a single exertion. No. Yeah. That spell blocks it and then kills them. That is one fewer minion on the table to double against. Does the stick let you hit somebody else? Oh, wound a minion. Okay, that is better than I thought it was. I'd missed that. Yeah, and that is the end. We did see Wastes of Emmuel, which I do love, and if he had a hand for it, could have been very strong here. Those, yep, those orcs, those mounts don't inflict their exertion until the start of their skirmish, so potentially a lot of wounds to come out with this many companions on that site. But like you said, probably clogged. Good game. So Distali is our front runner at the moment. We do still have a few games going. Chadwick and Enelin look like they're about to end. We haven't seen Chadwick play yet. Nope. Never mind. They've just finished. Stack and Retail. We haven't seen his deck before. He's got a 4 Hobbits deck here. Looks like Hospital. Everyone knows keeping his Unbound strong. No promises. So I'm not sure he's got a trick with the others. But another... Oh no, we've seen Retill before. I was going to say yet another Twilight Nazgul, but it's not all Twilight either. We didn't see him play the Witch King last time around. He was too choked for it. Removing a threat to take anything you want go a long way here, especially with things like Fell Beast being free. But doesn't look like there is enough threats for him to... Doesn't matter. He does have that Fell Beast. Adding a Ring of Disparity. Once you return it to your hand, when you play it, you may wound an unwounded companion. I don't think I've seen that ever, but it's not a bad play. This is the shadow that we still weren't quite sure what its kind of end game was. We saw so little of it in the last match here. But I'm curious how that all comes together. But that is a scary Unkea, especially against so many hobbits that are so small. Sam tanking. Just really interesting. So we haven't seen much of the shadow yet. The last game we watched with Retill, he was so choked out that he didn't really get to play much. But he's got the regular Witch King to tutor cards for Twilight and Kea. And the Ring of Austerity is the one I haven't seen before. I don't think I've ever actually seen this used. The Witch King's Ring I've seen, but not the others. When played, you know, gives him a +1 strength, lets you keep him when you reconcile, but it let him wounded unwounded companion, which I absolutely understand why a Twilight deck may want that to get those hits on Frodo. And if Frodo is already damaged, then you know it doesn't hurt to share some of that around. But overall here, these hobbits are quite small, and there are 2 Strength 14 Fierce minions on the table. Merry just lost his fight and exited the table. Each of them still has 1 more round here. Or I'm wrong, and I was talking... No, it is start of the assignment phase. I scrolled badly in the chat. But I'm interested to see here. It's not the end of the game, but is it the end of Pizdek's fellowship? Second unbound hobbit gone. Another burden on Frodo does bring him up to that 5 mark. Too late for Enkea to take advantage of it this turn, but he could well come back. He's got the ring, so he'll be likely put back into Ratil's hand. It's true. Though with only 2 companions potentially in the entirety of the rest of the deck, that might be a last effort. Yeah, so much of the potential hospital just disappeared there. You know, he'll be able to heal Frodo and Sam up quite well with Rosicata and the Gaffer, but yeah, he needed to use the ring, I think, because if he'd gone up to 3 wounds, the warrior would have been able to exhaust both of them, which is more than he's going to be able to heal up next turn. Yeah. Stacking up some of his conditions, he's in far better shape here than he was in the round against... Oh no. Who was his opponent last game? Baker, thank you. Yep. Nothing terribly interesting sitting on Ever Your Heart Rises, though I suppose he could grab a copy of Aragorn if he decides he wants to play it. Unless Aragorn is dead, but he's not. Just keeping under 6 companions, it looks like. 3 burdens on the table. Leaves these guys kind of in okay shape. It's a lot of ambush to potentially be making that Easterland captain very dangerous. If he doesn't eliminate some competition here before the assignment phase, it's going to be 12 Twilight on the field. They're only effectively +1 each, but that's probably some 1 skirmishes. Yo. Gonna have to pull that one up. Yeah. Exert a man to discard. Gimli can exert to keep them around. Looks like we're sacrificing the ranger here. Gimli with the Axe of Erebor is unlikely to be overwhelmed, but not impossible. We can see up to a +10 from the captain. he's got to be careful to not use too much here, that if he fails to get rid of the captain, it comes back in the fierce skirmish. Yeah, he does have oh no, that's a Slake Thirst. Maybe he doesn't have another battle tested. Okay. Yeah, Captain can go up to a 21. Gimli can get to exactly a 22 using the Axe of Erebor. Oh no, he can discard a condition or a card stacked on a condition. He can get quite a bit higher if he chooses to downsize his. Yeah, get rid of Ever My Heart Rises. There's a lot of resources there, but I think it was really, really important that he did it. The regiment here is not nearly as scary by himself, even if he does end up, flooding the Twilight Pool. Because Rutil is currently behind, and, but he can't get to Site 9 on this move. He's behind. He needs a shadow win. He's in good shape for it, so he just needed to survive here. And with that win on Gimli, he very clearly has. I don't know if he's got anything else Fellowship in his hand. If he does, he should probably be ditching it as hard and as fast as he can here. All right, there was another flurry of loud construction noises. I had to go on mute for a moment there. Yeah, they've been extending a neighbor's house, building a 3-season room, it looks like. Saturdays seems like their day to do it, unfortunately. I'm hoping they're done before the World Championship, so I don't have to worry about it on that date. Which is October 18th, for anybody who is interested. Alright, he's using the Seeing Stone of Orthanc, drawing out as many cards as he can here to try to get his best cycle. He only cares about Shadow from this point forward. Not sure why he's stacking preparations. And that, yeah, I was going to say, preparations from the discard pile. I think what you were saying is exactly what he was doing with the Palantir, but I'm not sure what the preparations use was for. Oh, it's because he moved. He chose to double. Maybe he found himself with a bunch of skirmish events in that draw, and he needed to get rid of more than 2 cards. He did draw back up to 10 cards, so it could be that it's a bad hand. I don't know if this was a good move, but it may have been. It really depends on what was in his hand there and whether or not he thinks he can get rid of some of it. He can't make it to 9. There's no move limit +1 card in the game that he could play right now. But that doesn't mean that he can't cycle more of what might be sitting around. He doesn't have anything on the table that would let him discard cards, but if he drew events of any kind, Now's the time to play him. Ah, okay, yeah. So Gimli's armor is allowing him. He let Sindri die off, triggered the threats, and is ditching some of those cards with Gimli's armor. Presumably to try to cycle into that ideal Sight 9 play. He may only have 10 Twilight to use, but with only Frodo and Sam on the table, that could be enough. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, just curious what he was discarding there. Doesn't, well, discarded 6, so he... Tail of the Great Ring could... He's only got 6 cards left in his deck. They must have been discarded before we joined into the game. Alright, there and back again, getting cancelled. Yeah, Gollum Old Villain is going to make a really easy overwhelm somewhere here. It's potentially plus 10 if he doesn't have another skirmish event worth playing. Kay is not fierce. Does seem likely. Founder being used. And Kay could pull an overwhelm here. Grabbing the Pale Crown will drop Sam down to a 3 if Frodo was dead. Oh. And we... Time limit. His deck did. I think it might be. Hobbit Hospital is a slow... Yeah, there's a lot of triggers to hit. It's not necessarily easy to go through each one. And on GEMP, you have to click through them individually. It's not like in real life where you can just go grab 3 tokens at a time off of your party guests. You have to show me which one that is. I set this up with the PC Movie kind of format on it. If there was something else to... Hmm. Yeah, so Distali is the only undefeated player right now, but he does not have... Wait, which goes first? Modified median or cumulative? So if Distali drops this game, the winner of the Faker or Wingfoot, I think they're playing each other, could sneak into first place. Do you want to watch the Faker and Wingfoot or Distali and Ratil? I don't think we've seen Wingfoot yet today. Looks like he started Bilbo. I do love Bilbo of the Ring Bearer. Using our Frodo Signet Hobbits. The only Dwarf of Erebor, I bet this is a Lost to the Goblins play. Throw that out right here. That Wingfoot is playing Lost. Hmm. All right, we're seeing 3 for the Elven Kings. This is a card that I love in theory, and I've yet to make work, but perhaps Wingfoot has figured it out. Um, yeah, I think that's very reasonable. Yeah, Gimli's going to let him cycle 1, maybe 2 cards, depending on if he exerts with consorting with wizards. Then, we'll let her, or 3 for the Elven Kings. We'll let her cycle an additional 1, in addition to just cycling in general to help get rid of anything that's too much. May well be running several copies of cards like 3 for the Elven Kings. Yep. But getting some of his minions here quite strong. No skirmish abilities is going to be devastating. Gimli is the only character here who can survive a fight. I think I absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you kill off both hobbits or if you kill off one of them and Galadriel, but that was very well played. So the counterpoint there is that if you can't keep Bilbo alive, and that's what the hobbits are for, never get the bomb. But yeah, that is a brutal start. Yeah, I ran a very similar deck last year in one of the qualifiers. I didn't have Galadriel. I didn't think about that. I think it's a really good idea. I'm interested to see how reliably Wingfoot's able to pull this off. I might go back and rewatch some of the earlier games. I could also be wrong here, and maybe it's not a bomb at all, and there's some other trick going on. Well, the real problem with how it works too is that if you know it's coming, you just exhaust Frodo. If Darkest Darkness can't. Yep. You do have to get there, so he needs to be running a sting that lets him exert, or needs to carefully lose enough skirmishes along the way. I'm looking at this card pile. Huh. We. I was slightly slow at joining. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That is a heavily exhausted fellowship. Down 2 members already, and lots and lots of wounds, but they're sitting at the council courtyard. Though they're exerting themselves. Why? Is he moving again? He's moving to the council courtyard. Yes. He's giving only 3 Twilight, no chance for anything more than one Twilight minion to come through. Yeah, cycling some additional cards, placing another card on the bottom of the deck. we have somebody else in the chat? I just heard just to listen. We are also audible on Twitch. At least I hope we are. We were when I first checked. So if anybody is hanging out there. Now, building a bit of a swarm here. 4 Twilight left. Potentially is massive. Nope. No, only the 4 of them. There and back again being used to prevent an overwhelm against 2, but not against 3. He'll have to use Thrarin. Yep. 4 or 5 strength minions is a rough time to have to use that many resources. Playing with Basmalis's Goblin Runners. These were the first ever World Champion designed card based on a victory in 2023. I think they came out really, really nicely. They're one of the only alternate art cards that I run. Usually I'm opposed to alt arts, but these are just great. And as a reminder for anybody who is considering playing in the World Championship or is excited to watch it happen, the winner will once again get to choose a card that, Ketura, I assume you're helping with, because I don't have the art skills, to design a fun alt art. And the winner will get one that says they were the champion. A lot of cards here with Gimli. He's trying to build that bomb as fast as he can. His fellowship is in rough shape. I don't know if he can expect to make it to Site 5. I think he needs to pull that trigger, yeah. He does have Tale of the Great Ring. Yeah, he can't take a wound. Can't be overwhelmed unless an event is played. Bill. Well, I haven't been counting, but he's cycled quite a few cards already. If he's got the hand for it, it might be worth throwing out there. Though he also, the Faker's not in a great fellowship position here. If he can just survive this, Bilbo stays alive through the Tale of the Great Ring, he might be able to pull off a swarm win at Site 5. Especially if he's running a Balrog. Balrog plus a couple of runners could absolutely wreck Gimli and Frodo. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see a bomb even attempted, but I don't think that we're seeing. Bilbo can't take wounds. Bilbo's fine. He can't take wounds. But Bilbo's not worried. No, he snuck right out. He's a burglar and he chills out with some really old men. But alright, so only 8 Twilight. But you don't need more than maybe 3-5 strength minions out to pull off an overwhelm here. Host of Thousands grabs some runners. don't know if he's going to running a Balrog. Oh, Host of Moria. Yeah, that's in there normally to grab the sneaks. But getting another runner will, yeah. Unless he's sitting on a paths or something similar. Oh, what's the Ring of Acceleration do? Hold on. One card. I mean, Path survives anything else, and I think using the file of Glacial and a Goblin Runner. Yep, and that's game. Well, all right. Let's hop over to Destali's game if it's still going, because if he wins, he is today's victor. As much as I want to watch Chadwick play, I really like the deck that I think he was playing. We haven't seen him on screen yet, but I think this game is the more important for today's final round of circuit points getting handed out. Destali is a few sites ahead here. And it looks like Rutil is just about to play Shadow. Semi-companions spot a Nazgul, discards condition to play Nazgul for just okay, yeah, so he's just trying to get some minions out there. Yeah, he's got Pale Crown, so there's probably something to do with Twilight in here. Helpless is ready to go. Helpless could turn off Gandalf. Ringbound Companion. Thank you. Sam only, yeah. Yeah, we've got Unkea coming out. Gandalf's going to be able to stop anyone from dying from it, but it's 3 wounds. Too Great and Terrible also has been errated. It's no longer the event bomb it once was. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, Too Great and Terrible continues to be really strong against most Gandalfs. Just doesn't murder them when you hold a couple in hand. Letting the first one go on Eowyn. Stali's got a good number of companions here, but he's really light on his possessions. We just saw Kentea remove one of them. I wonder if he's been discarding left and right. Oh, Beauty is fading coming out. Getting rid of the arrow slits. It's an expensive single discard, condition discard. Aracorn felling Kentea, Theoden losing his fight to Inkea. It's like twice. Oh yeah, I was wondering. Well, I don't think so. I think he would have to be an artifact, no? Ah, it's not item or condition. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking into the discard pile. Well, he's only got a few in there, so they probably have been discarded on him, but maybe Dasali is just not set up the way he was the last game that we watched with him, he does still have 58 cards in his deck at Site 6, so it's entirely possible he's just failed to cycle very well. Tilde's deck, on the other hand, is setting him up very nicely on the Fellowship side. If only he wasn't 3 sites behind, he might be in a really good place to be running. Yeah, he's got like Thirsts, Battle Tested. I don't know. Yeah, he did play Aragorn this time around. Last game, he had it stacked on Ever My Heart Rises and could have drawn it to play, but chose not to. This Aragorn with kind of the preparations, and I suspect it's down here somewhere. The one that when you win a skirmish, you put a token on it, can really allow for some stacking abuse, but I don't actually see. I don't remember the name of the card. I don't see it on the table right now. Grima Wormtongue. It's not enough cards on anybody for him to come into play. I in fact think that Rutil's been doing a great job of keeping it to only two items per companion. He's thrown at hand axes, he's discarded rings, but I don't think I've seen him put 3 items on even in the games that we've watched. Just Grima out there. Grabbing an event from his discard pile. I think he's just cycling and getting some extra stacking going on. Grima is not here a threat, though I suspect the Stali is also running Sorman's power, so together they could be rather devastating. Going back and forth, drawing cards, and Dastali is stacking his deck with Ships of Great Draught. The hope or expectation that Rutil doubles to 5 here. There's a lot of Twilight already on the table, not that many burdens out yet. Be interesting to see if Rutil is planning to run with it like Dastali is predicting, or if he's letting Dastali get kind of a crap Fellowship hand. Nope, he is going. Yeah, he wants to keep moving. He's got enough hand to presumably have lots of tricks in addition to the ones that he's able to play off of his stacked items. Captain with a polearm and a raider's bow. Pillager to... Oh no, the Pillager's... You play this out of burden for each companion over 5. It's not the one I was thinking it was. And then tossing a whole bunch of... Nope, removing all of those threats in order to stack the Ship of Great Drop up. Not letting him use his from the armory trick to just absorb them anyway. Visions from afar to force Isildur to fight unless he adds a burden. With the captain out there, I think he has to add the burden to stop that, but that will put him into the 4 burden range for the captain's effects. Curious what the choice is there. Tail's thinking about it. Right. And he could exert 3 different people. He's got the options out there for sure. Maybe. You know, 1 burden versus 3 exertions. Nope, he adds the burden. I'm not sure where he's expecting to put these guys otherwise. Oh, okay, there we go. Gimli and Durin. 10 Twilight on the table after the Raider's Bow kicks off. Potentially giving... Oh, there are 4 burdens now. Potentially giving a plus 15 boost. Yeah, Ratil's in good shape to not be getting hit by overwhelms even with numbers that high, but I don't know if he's going to see much in the way of skirmish wins. Not seeing any extra skirmish events with the extra stacking, and he is running very low on cards. Yeah. 12 in hand might let him keep a really good shadow hand, but he's not going to be able to keep doing this forever. A lot of back and forth with this. Ratil's also quite a bit lower on time than Distali. We've seen him time out before. Or we've seen timeouts today, anyway. I don't know that we've seen Ratil timeout. Is he going for the overwhelm? Looks like it. Yeah, he needs to go down 1 more time. No. There is a battle tested on Deepest Delvings. Oh, it's Linar, it's not Sindri. Yep. Sindri hasn't come out. Oh, yeah. He's not going to be able to get the overwhelm here on Gimli, but they are both fierce. We're going to go back up to 8 Twilight when he assigns the captain. Yeah, Active Erebor is going to, I think, be able to keep Gimli from being overwhelmed, but he'd need to do something to prevent a wound. Yeah, but he needs to win unless he's got a wound prevention I don't see. Gimli is already exhausted. Oh. You have to... Yeah, he can't exert. He is... It looks like going to use Linar to exert, which is going to force the captain to go for an overwhelm, but... Yeah, he does have it. Yeah, those Easterlings are brutal when you can get the setup going. Doesn't require a lot of cards, but you need a good handful of burdens in play to make it work. Distali is stacking the top of his deck again, grabbing divisions from afar. He's looking to get even more burdens out there, it looks like. I don't think there's an ability for another move here, but Distali may just want a couple of key cards back for next turn. He's not going to make it to site 9 on his turn. Right. Healing up. Try cards. Symbol Murner to grab Firefoot. See if he's able to actually keep any of his conditions around. Or possessions around, rather. Moving ahead, he did not leave a wound on Aragorn, so Guahir was unable to provide a heal there. It's probably a small mistake. Yeah, one wound overall. Witch King coming out using the Ring of a Steer to wound Frodo. Not a steer. Asperity. Nelia is not going to be triggered here, but is able to exert to draw cards. Doesn't have a lot of Twilight left, but maybe looking for... Well, his Terrible Servants will keep Nelia alive, most likely. I don't know how useful that's going to be in the scheme of this. I don't think he's running Twilight Witch King. I think he's using the Morgul King to be able to grab whatever it is he needs. But it does definitely mean that while he's equipping on KOL, he's not getting the double threat for Ringbearer pile-ups. Right. Yeah, that big giant deck that is down to 7 cards. Yeah, second wound on Frodo does mean that Nelia is now fierce damage +1. Double fierce thanks to the Fell Beast. If only that did anything here. Let's grab something. Yeah. Shiram Army comes out, discards the Witch King. Wasn't sure which of those two he was going after. And then Aemir is currently larger than Nelia. Plenty of Twilight to prevent the wound. Didn't prevent the wound. I'm not sure about that choice. Oh. Yeah, tossing down. Moving over to Retill. Can't even grab all 6 cards on Ever My Heart Rises. He's got Sindri, puts him in much better shape to be able to use some of those skirmish events. No cards left in deck, only 6 in hand. Even if he can crazy run here, he would need 2 different last throws to make it to Site 9. I don't know if he's going to have the Shadow to stop Dastali from just waltzing through. Right, yeah, yeah, he never did get the condition out that lets him stack when he wins skirmishes. Blood Run's Chill potentially. Yeah, but with no healing. I'm looking for it. I bet it's stacked here somewhere. Because I can't remember the name. Oh, must be the discard pile. I will find it. There. There it is. Stout and Strong. Would allow them to as they win with those, Aragorn can heal them up as much as they need to get them back every turn. Though looks like he's only running one, and that surprises me. Maybe it's an afterthought and Aragorn's not normally supposed to come out. Yeah, he used visions from afar to force a fight here. He's got 4 burdens for potentially +9 and a consumption. No, a timeout. I'm pretty sure that was game anyway, but that was officially a concession. Yeah, I think there was only potentially +3 to be had there. Gotta play at championship speed. All right, so Dastali is our winner for this morning, but we are not done. We can still check out the last minutes of Chadwick and Vismayer's game. All right, so Chadwick, Sam's carrying the ring. We've got Faramir, Aragorn, and Legolas out for a Pipeweed Archery combination. We haven't watched Chadwick's games today at all, but I almost always really appreciate the decks he comes with. I'm gonna have to watch a replay because what's already out here makes me really curious how this engine runs. And then Vismayer we watched for our first round. He's not in quite the shape he was with a large pool of companions, but looks like he's in acceptable condition. Site 7 with a few people out. Nobody's fully exhausted. Cave Troll on the table, and nobody is wearing armor. So that damage +1 should do some real work here. Discarding. Yeah, Vilya used to get rid of some of the conditions. Cave Troll, keyword, taking some archery fire. Not enough to bring anybody off the table. It's only 3 minions. There's no swarm here, but they are all at potentially threatening size. Only the scout will lose by default, assuming he's placed against Faramir or Aragorn. Placed on Legolas. Interesting. Faramir takes his 2 wounds. Aragorn beats the keyword, and using some Site 3 allies to reduce the Moria Scout by 4. Let's Legolas win that fight. Aragorn looks like he's going to take a couple licks against the Cave Troll as well. Arwen's going to take one of them for him. So very, very kind of her. I don't think I've ever noticed before, but the allies show resistance in movie block. Right. That makes sense. Moving to the Brownlands. Suggesting that Chadwick's running some archers. We haven't seen his shadow at all yet. He is quite low on cards. 15 left in the deck, but only 2 sites left to go. Less than 30 cards in the discard pile. It must be very tight. 30-30 or close to it. All right. Rainbow Archery. Darkest Darkness to start the wounds off. Desert Lord and... Oh, Ringbearer can't take archery wounds with Roger Marksman out. Desert Lord's going to knock 2 exertions on the table. Crossbowman's going to hit some Unbound Companion, though he would have anyway. I'm not sure if it really matters there that he exerted. And it would have been 4 archery, but the Host of the Last Alliance is reducing it. That is... He can absorb it, but it will be quite a lot. And it does mean that if he loses his skirmishes here to the Desert Men, he might be losing some companions. Discarding the Host of Last Alliance to prevent one of those archery wounds. Got 1 on Aragorn. Where's the last one going? He'd love to put it on Sam, and he's just not allowed to. Just reminding myself what some of the support cards are here. He's putting a lot of thought into what happens to this last arrow. Oh no. No, he's putting a lot of thought into the assignment phase. What reduced the minion archery total? Oh, Google did take a wound. We're paused on a completely different phase than I thought we were. Aragorn taking out the Desert Lord. Cleaning up the smaller characters here, and Elrond is going for his fight. Successfully gets a heal off of the top card. And then likely to lose his skirmish here to the archer. I don't see anything on the table for boosts. We jumped into this on the later side. Does he run? Chadwick comments, incredible. Wait, what just happened? Oh, to wound a minion. It's not wound X minions, where X is the number of elves, which is how it is in my head. I saw him discarded and got confused by the additional wounds. But all right, so running to 9. 3 trackers, I'm guessing, is the V1 trackers, based on the archery theme that we're seeing for the very little bit of this that we've popped into. Getting Golem out there. I'm not sure of any other tracker that can be an archer. Though nobody's exhausted. Though the Southern Bowman could result in an exhaustion pretty easily. So yeah. So I think he uses the Bowman to exhaust Aragorn or Gil-galad. I'm not sure if it... Oh no, Elrond's already exhausted. It's not going to matter. He'll get 4 arrows out of it, and then most likely have those trackers be strength 11. Is it enough this late? Sam can take these wounds, though he could absorb 3 as wounds, or 4 if he puts the ring on. That surprises me as well. He might be hoping for a wound during the regroup. I wonder. Yeah, he does have... I'm not sure. Maybe it just is to Well, because you know, and Golem is gone there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Two threats. Yeah, they're not fierce. Yeah, that's a victory for Ismair. And I believe that was our last match of the event. Hop over to the final standings. All right, so we've got Distali in the lead with Wingfoot and Vismair tied for second. Wingfoot winning on the strength of schedule. Not strength of schedule, but the tiebreakers. Giving us a nice clean for second, third. Baker and Chadwick doing well there. And everyone playing really well today. We have a second event for the Americas time zone in an hour and 15, if I'm converting from UTC correctly. All right. Well, thank you for jumping into this. I super appreciate it. I always have fun with these. I'm going to end the stream here. Yeah, stop.